Now that Quincy Hung is in Rise of Kingdoms, I think it's time we answer a question about what the current best Archer Murderball is. What commanders should you be running in an Archer Murderball to make the best possible Murderball if you're an Archer main? So, if you're interested in some of the best Archer Marchers currently in the game, even if you're not an Archer main, I will tell you when you should probably stop using Archer Marchers. Or if you're looking to make a big Archer Murderball, even up to 7 Marchers, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now let's start off today by discussing how am I going to be building the Murderball, and quite simply what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at the current best commanders. I don't really care about the future commanders which might work. I'm looking at the best Archer commanders with some leadership in there to try and make the best possible Murderball for your marches. So if you're an Archer main, I'm going to tell you the best up to 7 March Murderball, and if you're a player who maybe just wants to run a few Archer Marches, I'll tell you where the most optimal level for running Archer Marches are. So whether I think it's 3, 2, 1, whatever it is, I will explain that as well. So to start off though, we will start off with the current best Archer March in the game. Comes kind of to no surprise, Quincy Hung with Zulang. I mean, if you have to use just one Archer March, and I think everybody should at least be running one Archer March, Quincy Hung Zulang is perfectly fine. Zulang's crazy 5-target AoE, really good stats, even more AoE on his 3rd skill, and a nice expertise, go really well with Quincy Hung's kit, who is just absolutely destroying right now, because he's a really good commander, and the way his skills work are really unique, and he's quite powerful. So Quincy Hung and Zulang, pretty much must-haves right now for an Archer Murderball. I don't see a reason to not run them. I don't see another March that could really be better than them. There's some options you could run instead of Zulang. If you have a YSG expertise, you can certainly get away with that. If you got Ashurbanipal expertise or even Herman Prime, they will all work. But Zulang will be the most optimal for one March. It's going to trade the best, it's going to hit the best, and it's going to be really strong. And if you're running just 3 Marches on the open field, 1 Cav, 1 Infantry, 1 Archers, I would just recommend running Quincy Hung with Zulang, and you're going to be in a very nice position, and it should be trading pretty decently as well. And not to mention, it's just a really nice AoE March to be running on the open field. So Quincy Hung with Zulang, very nice choice, in my opinion, for that first March. Moving on to the second March, though, we're going to have to split up the Quincy Hung with Zulang really early. And the reason being, Zulang's best pairing is Quincy Hung, but Quincy Hung and Zulang can't stay together, or you can't build a proper Archer Murderball. The reason being, Herman Prime is a really good commander to be running for an Archer Murderball for up to 2 Marches. His best pairing is with Zulang, and it makes sense really for the most part to run a Zulang with a Herman Prime secondary as one of your marches, and then the other one, a YSG as a secondary to Quincy Hung. Now the reason this makes the most sense is because YSG synergizes really well with Quincy Hung, like a lot. The rage gain on YSG's second skill is really nice with Quincy Hung because he spends a lot of rage. And YSG's 4th skill, this 50% more skill damage, basically applies to every single attack Quinn's going to be doing. Because the way he works, he's going to spend his rage to convert his damage into direct damage. And pretty much imagine a commander with 50% more normal attack at all times. Really good, really nice synergy there. Not to mention, even though YSG's damage isn't the most meta, it's a little bit outdated, it is still very solid. 1700, 5-target, and a circle AoE is nothing to laugh at, and while it's not at Zulang's level, it is pretty damn good. So YSG, especially if you have him, I think he can go up to a triple relic at this point. So if you triple relic that YSG and you slap him with Quinn, you're going to have a really good second Archer March, then it's going to trade really nice. So if you're looking for 2 Archer Marches, that would be my recommendation. A YSG secondary to Quincy Hung, and a Zulang primary to a Herman Prime secondary. You can also consider, if you want to just keep Zulang with Quinn and you don't want to backwards invest in YSG because he's not the best choice, you can do an Ashurbanipal with a Herman Prime, and there's a bit of synergy there. I thought this would be the best pairing for Herman Prime when he first released. Obviously it isn't, but Ashurbanipal's expertise, it does kind of benefit from lots of active skills. Herman Prime's expertise kind of lets him throw an extra active skill every now and again. Now it's rare to get that active skill from my personal experience on the open field, unless you're really good at rage chaining or you're playing really aggressive. But if you do get that active skill to trigger, then Herman Prime is going to be doing very well with Ashurbanipal, and they're going to synergize quite nice. But preferably you will run that Zulang with the Herman Prime and a YSG with a Quinn if you are able to run that March. Moving on to 3 Archer Marches. This is literally, I think, Moving on to 3 Archer Marches. At this point, pretty much most players shouldn't be doing this. The only people who should be considering doing 3 Archer Marches are people really who are an Archer main. If you're an Archer main, I certainly think it's okay to go to 3, possibly even 4 Archer Marches right now. Will they do too well past the first two? Not going to do as nice. I'll be fully honest with you. You're going to notice that you're not hitting as well. You're not trading as nice with your third, fourth, fifth, and so on. But moving on to 3 marches, you can certainly still get away with it. And there's a few options here. Currently, I don't think it's worth picking up a Philip for 3 marches. He will come in a little bit later. I think personally for 3 archer marches, are you going to benefit that much from a Philip? Possibly not. If you have more than 3 marches, so if you're running 3 archer marches and a cav and an infantry, pick up a Philip, slot him in there, possibly with Shajar. You can run a Shajar primary, Philip secondary, even Shajar secondary is not too bad with Philip. Or you can just stick to running 3 archer marches without a Philip II, and he'll come in around the 4th and 5th march. So for the 3rd march, really there's a couple of options. You've got the main one I recommend being Boudica Prime with Ashurbanipal secondary. Ashurbanipal with Boudica Prime is a really nice march. I've run it. It's not the most amazing nowadays. Like, it's not the most overpowered. There's definitely better marches out there. But if you're looking for 3 archer marches, it's probably going to be your first or your main pickup. The other option would be running a Shajar with an Ashurbanipal. And again, that's a very solid march, and you can certainly get away with it. I think Boudica's support might be a little bit more worth it if you're running 3 archer marches at this point, because the amount of skill damage you're going to be relying on is very high, and her active skill gives you a lot of skill damage debuffs for your opponents. Not to mention, stack that with Herman Prime, you're in a really, really powerful position with the amount of skill damage that you're going to be dealing. But Ashurbanipal as well is really, really good with Shajar, and he is just an overall powerful field commander. So if you're not running him already with, let's say, a Herman Prime, you can certainly get away with picking up Ashurbanipal now and running him. And I think that if you don't have Herman Prime with Zulang and you don't have YSG with Quinn already, you want to make sure you've got that 2 pairings down packed before you move on to the 3rd march. Otherwise, you're going to have weird things like you're going to have Zulang with, let's say, Quincy Hung, and then you have like the YSG who's not expertise, then you're probably going to run like a Boudica with a Shajar, and it just gets all wacky, and it probably isn't a very good choice. So for 3 marches, Shajar with Ashurbanipal or Boudica with Ashurbanipal, and you're going to be in the best position in terms of archer marches at least. Would I recommend it? Probably not. Most people should be looking towards the other troop types at this point before they consider 3 archer marches. If you're running 7 marches on the field, 6 or 7 marches, maybe then you could consider running 3 archer marches, but for most people, it doesn't really make much sense to do that, since they're not going to be trading too hot, to be fully honest. Moving on to 4 marches, at this point, you want to run a Philip II. If you're running 4 archer marches and you're not running anything else especially, you definitely want to have a Philip in there, because he's a really, really good supporting commander. I mean, there is no commander in the game at this point with the support level of Philip II, and he's going to make a big difference at 4 marches. The reason I said maybe not for 3, because you get more value from him when you've got 4 to 5 marches, because you're going to be soaking up more of his buffs. And I mean, let's be realistic, you want to be the greedier one when you're running a Philip. You'd prefer the buffs on your marches than your allies, and even though it will help your allies if one of your marches gets taken out and Philip is still buffing, you'd prefer to have it mainly on your marches. And for your 4 marches, really what I just recommend, run a Shajar primary, run a Philip secondary. That march is tanky, it's annoying to kill, and it's a really good support march. Run a Boudica with an Ashurbanipal, it's going to be a good march, I recommended it before. Zulang with the Herman Prime, and then just run Quincy Hung again with YSG, and once more you're going to be in a very solid position. So Quinn with YSG, Philip II with that Shajar, and you're in a really, really good position. You're going to be trading nice, you've got a bit, like, pretty good support, and even though some of the marches aren't hitting as good, like, let's say Boudica Ashurbanipal isn't the strongest nowadays, you can certainly get away with running it, and it's not going to trade too horribly. Moving on to 5 archer marches. Now, at this point, if you're running 5 archer commanders, or 5 pairings of archer commanders, one of them having a Philip in there, I don't really see a reason to do it unless you're an absolute archer main, you're someone who's basically a pure account, or you're a really weird whale who's running 7 marches, and 2 of them are a cav infantry, and 5 of them are archers. Now, would I say this is optimal? Definitely not. You'd rather have at least 2 or 3 of other troop types as well. I would never really see a reason to go into getting 5 archer marches. I personally don't even do it. I only run 3 total marches on the field. So running to 5 marches, I don't recommend it. But if you're looking to do it, I will give you the solution to that. I would just go and get the new rally commander who's not currently in the game right now, but at the time of this video recording, but he may be out when I do release the video. Sharper, reason I say get him, his stats are fine. I mean, he's not going to be really good in terms of an investment, but if you're running 5 archer marches, you don't really have another choice. And then you can run a Sharper with a Cyrus primary. Run Cyrus as the primary so you can get his additional damage debuff first, And then you can benefit from Shupper's really, really powerful active skill, where he's dealing, I think it's like 3,000 additional damage. So do keep that in mind. It can be a solid march. Will it be absolutely meta for very long? Probably not. But if you're swarming garrisons and stuff as well, and you're rallying, or someone's rallying with a Shupper into a garrison, then you're going to notice Cyrus also has a lot of value there. Now, Cyrus ain't the hottest commander nowadays. I even skill reset mine to put the points into, I think it was Philip or Arthur Pendragon. So I wouldn't go out of my way to get Cyrus. If you have him, I guess you can run him for that 5th march. He also does have a relic, I'm pretty sure, somewhere here, or he doesn't. I'm probably going crazy. I was mistaken. Cyrus does not have a relic, but just running him with a Shupper on the field is going to be pretty nice. You can also run a Henry with a Cyrus if you don't have Shupper the first and you don't want to go and get him. Would I recommend it fully? No, Shupper is going to do a lot better. There's a lot more synergy, but Henry Cyrus does work. I have run it before. It's quite annoying to hit, actually, because Henry's got revenge damage. Cyrus actually has revenge AoE, and in those situations, he can trade pretty nice. But keep in mind, it isn't going to be the most meta nowadays. A lot of the new cav marches and new infantry marches will rip and tear through a Cyrus with a Henry, so you're going to notice it won't trade as nice as when I was running it, because I ran it probably about a year ago now, to be honest. But if you are desperate and you need 5 archer marches for whatever reason, you can definitely get away with a Henry and a Cyrus. It just would not be my number one go-to choice. Now, 5 marches for archers is certainly where I recommend pretty much everybody in the game stopping. I don't even see a reason to go to 6 or 7, especially because at that point you also need to be a whale and you need to max crystal tech. And if you're a whale, there are so many stronger marches you can pick up and you can run instead of 6 or 7 archer marches. Now, as a recap for the 5 archer marches, you're going to want to run a Quincy Hung primary with a Zulang secondary, a YSG secondary, a Zulang with a Herman Prime secondary, a Boudica with an Asher Bunny Pal, a Shajar with a Philip II. Then you're also going to want to run a Shupper with a Cyrus primary. So that would be your 5 march ball. You can, again, also run a Henry if you so want. But if you are running 5 archer marches, I wouldn't really be recommending it. There are much better choices of where you can put your gold heads and allocate your resources to other troop types who are just going to trade a lot better. Now, if you want to run 6 archer marches, which I think is almost 0 people in the game are running 6 archer marches nowadays, but if you choose to do it, there is an okay pairing here. At this point, you 100% need to have a Shopper with a Cyrus. There would be no reason not to, so your Henry is going to be your other march. You're going to run a Henry primary with a Nebu secondary. It's an okay march. I mean, it's definitely not meta anymore. Nebu is definitely not meta anymore. He's quite an outdated, relatively average commander, to be honest, compared to some of the more new and meta commanders. But if you're desperate, Nebu with a Henry as the primary, can be really, really nice. It's going to trade pretty decently. Now, I would say that there are stronger commanders in the game by a mile. I would much rather an Arthur Pendragon with a Nevsky, or a Hao Che-Bing with Hao Che-Bing with an Arthur Pendragon as well, or a Baiki with a Liu Chair. All those marches are going to outperform a Henry and a Nebu any day of the week. But if you need 6 archer marches, or you want to have 6 archer marches, Henry Nebu can work, just not going to be the most overpowered thing in the game. Now, finally, if we're moving to 7 archer marches, I see 0 point in the whole entire game to ever run 7 archer marches, but if you decide to do it, your pairings are very limited at this point. You've got barely any archer commanders left, to be honest. Most of the like semi-decent ones are tied up. Like commanders even like Henry, who aren't very good, are tied up. You can't really run them anymore. So you're looking at commanders who are left, and there's not much to pick from. And to be honest, you're in a real weird situation here. Chio Yung is only really good with Shajar, but Shajar is only like the only decent archer commander really with Philip II. So you don't really want to pick up a Chio Yung and run it with Shajar. Unless you run something weird, you can run Shajar primary, Shajar secondary, Chio Yung primary. And then your Philip can go with a new archer commander, like a Gilgamesh or something, or a Ramses. Now, is that going to trade good? Definitely not. Would I consider it? Probably not. I think that you're probably best off skipping Chio Yung and going with just a weird or older pairing. You can go an Artemisia or a Manatore Artemisia. I mean, is that going to trade good? Definitely not. But if you're running 7 marches, you're very tight for pairings at this point. Other option, you can run like a Thutmose, because Thutmose with a double relic is not bad. Thutmose with like a Ramses, Thutmose with an El Cid or even a Tamiris just with the debuffs could be okay. Would I recommend it? No, definitely not. But it's a possibility for your 7 march. So really for your 7th march, it's kind of dependent on which commanders you own and which ones you decide to pick. The most optimal would probably be something like a Ramses with a Gilgamesh just for the health debuff, since you won't have that if you're running an Archer Murderball. And for Ramses, I'm pretty sure he's got a defense reduction. And again, if you're running an Archer Murderball, you won't have that defense reduction on any of your other marches. So probably worth going and getting that. I mean, it makes sense to do that. I think Herman actually does have a defense reduction, but it's in a passive skill slot. So it's worth just getting the Ramses with a Gilgamesh. Something like that would be fine. I think I'd run Ramses as a secondary. Reason being, Gilgamesh has a skill tree, generally better, and also Gilgamesh can get latent power, and that is very nice with Ramses. So keep that in mind. Ramses not a very good choice at all, and Gilgamesh not a very good choice at all, but if you're desperate you can run him, or a Minotaur with Artemisia is an option, but it's going to get demolished on the field, and at that point, if you're running 7 Archer Marches, your 7th March is pretty much just kill feeding your opponents. Now, as a final recap for the best 7 Archer Marches in the game, Quincy Young with a YSG, Zhulang with a Herman. At this point, most players should stop. You just run 2 Archer Marches for most Murderballs, and you're going to do really good. If you're an Archer main and you move to 3 Marches, Boudica with Ashurbanipal or Shujar with Ashurbanipal. If you're moving to 4 Marches, Boudica with Ashurbanipal, Shujar with Philip II. If you're moving to 5 Marches, Shapur with a Cyrus Primary. 6 Marches, Henry with a Nebu. And then 7 Marches, really whatever you've got left. Or if you have to get really optimal, Ramses with a Gilgamesh or a Minotaur with an Artemisia is going to be your best 7 March Archer Ball. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, you found it interesting, helpful, or you just found my voice really entertaining, please do consider subscribing to the channel. It's a very small thing you can do that really does help me out, and it is very much appreciated. So to everyone who has subscribed, a massive thank you to you, and to everyone who has considered subscribing, or everyone that does subscribe in today's video, a huge thank you to you as well. Other than that, I just want to say I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.